We've started this new chapter now, and in this lesson I'm going to look at adding in some more pages. And the pages I want to add in, of course, are those pages that we sort of set up, or certainly we set up in terms of making the links work at the end of the last chapter. First of all, I'm going to open up our index page, so by coming over to my file panel and double-clicking on my index.html file, of course it opens it up. And so that we can remind ourselves, if we come over to our navigation, you'll see that we've got all these separate categories: Home, Shops, Activities, Photos, Movies, History, and Contact. So my first step, when I'm creating all these separate pages, so that these links will have somewhere to go, well, my first step is to create a folder for each individual category. Now, this isn't entirely necessary, but it's a way that I do it, so that within any particular category, shops for example, I can keep all relevant assets, such as different photographs or information about the particular shops, within that one folder. It simply makes it more convenient and easier for me to find what I'm looking for. Therefore, I'll start off by creating a shops folder. So by coming back over to my Files panel and selecting my top level here, I can then right-click and drop down to this option, New Folder. As a consequence, our new folder gets created, but by default it's called Untitled. Well, that's no use to me, so I'm going to rename this Shops. And then by deselecting by clicking somewhere in a blank area, now confirms that. Okay then, so I've created the folder. All I need to do now is create a new file and title this Shops. Therefore, I'll come over to File and then drop down to New, and within our new document setup, making sure I've chosen blank page, and for my page type, HTML, and then for my layout, well, I'm not going to choose one of those template layouts, I'm simply going to choose None. And then run down to the bottom right hand corner and click on Create. So now we do see this newly created HTML file. It's called Untitled, we need to rename this. Therefore, if I run up to File once more and then down to Save, this Save As dialog opens up, and there you'll see the category that we've just created, Shops, of course has its own folder. I'll double click on it to open it up, and then down in my file name field down here, I need to remove where it says Untitled 1. So by placing my cursor there, just before where it says .html, I can then repeatedly use my backspace button to delete that, and then I'll retype in Shops. And finally, I'll hit Save down here. And there we go. Within our Shops folder now, we see this newly created shops.html file. Now, because I want these running down here in alphabetical order, I'm going to come up here and click on this refresh button. Right then, we'll go through the process again. I need to come over to my index file first of all, so I can see my next category down. And there it is, Activities. Therefore, I need to go through the same process of creating a new empty file. However, there is a quicker way of doing this. Because I've still got my shops.html file open, I can use this and copy it, and with our copied version, call it Activities. So I'll do that. I'll come up to File, and then this time, rather than coming down to Save, I'll come down to Save As. And with my resulting Save As dialog open, I need to navigate to my site root. Now I could have clicked the site root button down there, or by clicking up here on my menu path, by selecting my root folder, TT Stockton Heath, that takes me to exactly the same place. Once more I need to create a new folder. So if I click on this new folder button, and in the resulting new folder, I'm going to overwrite where it says new folder and call it Activities. I'll deselect to confirm it, and then I'll double click on it to open it up. And then finally down here where it says file name, I need to change it from saying Shops. So I'll place my cursor there, remove Shops, and replace it with Activities. And then finally, I'll run down here and click on Save. Now you might or you might not see this dialog asking you to update links. I see it because that's the way my preferences are set. Well, I haven't actually got any links within this particular file, so it doesn't really matter if I click on Yes or No. Therefore, I'll just choose Yes. And now you'll see I have my 3 tabs running across here. Index, Shops, and finally now, Activities. I don't actually need to see the Shops one any longer, so I'll click on its cross to close it. And if I want to confirm that my Activities file did save within the Activities newly created folder, then by coming over to my Files panel, well, there's the folder, I'll open it up, and of course there is our Activities file. I'll just close my Activities folder now. My next step will be a reproduction of everything we've just done. I'll come back over to my index file, open it up, and see what my next category is. Well, my next category is photos. So once more, I'll go through the same process. I'll select my activities file, this empty one. I'll come up to File up here on my menu. I'll run down to Save As. And in the resulting Save As dialog, I need to navigate to the top level again in TT Stockton Heath. I'll click on New Folder once more, and then substitute New Folder with Photos. And once I've accepted that, I'll double click on it to open it, and then come down to File Name. I'll remove where it says Activities, and retype in Photos, and then click on Save. Now I'll click on Yes to remove this Update Links dialog. Okay, and then I would go through the same process over and over again, creating a new folder for every separate category I want to create, and then also create the related new empty file as we have done so far. Now I won't bore you and take up too much of your time going through this over and over again, so I'm going to finish this lesson now, and at the beginning of the next lesson you'll see I've done simply that. I've gone through and created all the separate category folders with their related empty files inside. Okay, see you in a moment.